Hey campers, welcome to the next installment of our Cryptid Camp Learn to Play series. This episode is for players who are ready to start building their own decks and exploring everything Cryptid Camp has to offer beyond the starter decks. If you haven't already, I highly recommend checking out our beginner gameplay tutorial before diving into this one. That tutorial goes over basic concepts that we'll be expanding on in today's video. We will have a link to that in the episode description. But for those of you who are ready, let's dive right in. Today we have the Flatwoods monster on the left playing Meteorite Obsidian with a splash of Corallium versus Kieran on the right playing Quartz Fulgurite with a splash of Lapis. As always, a game begins with a dice roll to see who goes first, and Flatwoods monster has won the toss and decides to go first. Let's take a look at Kieran's opening hand. The first card we see is a type that we didn't cover in the previous tutorial, and those cards are traps. Traps are played face down during your end of day phase, just like you do with cryptids. However, when a trap is encountered, the exploring camper does not receive evidence, the trap's effects trigger, and then it is discarded. In this case, Blade Candy is a 2-cost gem type trap, meaning any vision can pay for it, and it reads, give each allied cryptid of the exploring camper who triggered this trap a -2/-2 patch. We'll see an example of this trap in use in the upcoming gameplay video. In this case, Kieran is happy with their opening hand and decides not to mulligan. Now let's take a look at Flatwood Monster's opening hand. Flatwoods Monster decides that they would like to mulligan one card, which they'll put at the bottom of their deck, and then top deck one more card. As always, when a game begins, both players start with one lantern drawn to their lantern depot. In this case, each player drew a special lantern that can generate one of two specified types of vision. When you tap a lantern, you are generating vision, and that vision is what is used to play your cards. Here we have Flatwoods Monster tapping their Wishing Star lantern to generate one Meteorite vision to play Meteorite Looking Glass. Meteorite Looking Glass is a supply, so it gets stored in one of your caches, and it allows the player to generate a Meteorite vision during their camp phase. Next, Flatwoods Monster skips Adventure phase and goes directly to End of Day, setting down some face-down cards. Kieran starts their day by drawing a card and getting a new lantern. In camp phase, Kieran pays one Fulgurite to play Aviator. Aviator is a CZO, so you can only play one CZO during your camp phase, but it reads draw 2 and you may choose an environment and discard it. Well, there are no environments, so they can't do that, but they did draw 2. They now skip to the end of day and set down some face down cards. Flatwoods Monster starts their turn by resetting their lanterns, getting a new lantern, and drawing a card. During camp phase, Flatwoods Monster uses the Looking Glass to pay for a Hopkinsville Goblin. We'll use this little piece of plastic to indicate that we used the Looking Glass, but Hopkinsville Goblin is a common alien which has Raid 1, and we'll get into explaining what Raid is shortly. Then they pay 2 Meteorite Vision to play Christmas Space Penguin, which has Raid 2, and 5 attack and 3 defense. Moving to adventure phase now, we'll have the Space Penguin explore directly across for a Pockabilly that cannot be paid for. The trail will flip, and Flatwoods Monster earns 1 evidence. Next, the Hopkinsville Goblin will go directly across. This encounters an Ophanim, which costs 0, so it can be paid for. And it was encountered in defense mode, so that means it prevents the evidence from being found. However, the trail will flip. So again, that's one thing to keep in mind strategically for this game, is to put your cryptids in defense mode when you're trying to prevent your opponent from getting evidence. Flatwoods moves to end of day and puts down a face down card before passing their turn. Kieran starts their day by resetting their lanterns, getting another lantern, and drawing a card. Kieran pays 2 quartz to play a Angel Messenger, which has Flyer. When played, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. If one is a CZO memory, reveal it and put it in hand. Return the remaining cards to your deck and shuffle it. So here, Kieran activates that ability. Doesn't look like any of the top 4 cards are a CZO, so unfortunately that quartz paintbrush has to get shuffled back into the deck. Kieran then moves to adventure phase to explore with the Angel Messenger directly across for a Space Penguin that cannot be paid for. The trail flips, and Kieran gains 1 evidence. Kieran then moves to end of day and passes their turn. Flatwoods Monster starts their day by resetting their lanterns, drawing another lantern, and drawing a card. This time, though, they draw another special lantern, the Shadow Lantern, which reads, switch on this lantern to choose one of your allied cryptids and discard it from the region. If you did, generate 2 Obsidian Vision. It's important to note that this lantern can still generate 1 Obsidian Vision without needing to activate its effect text. Here, Flatwoods pays 1 Obsidian Vision to play Obsidian Vajra, another unique supply that generates vision during the camp phase. Using the Vajra and the Looking Glass and 2 additional vision, Flatwoods Monster pays 4 vision to play a Wendigo. In Adventure Phase, we'll get to see Raid in action. Raid allows a cryptid to move into a rival camper's sights, so the Christmas Space Penguin will use its move action to move directly across, the Wendigo will use its move action to move up, and the Hopkinsville Goblin will explore directly across, encountering a bourgeoisie bird that can be paid for, so a battle will ensue. The Goblin was in attack mode using its 3 attack versus the bird, which is in defense mode using its 0 defense, so the bourgeoisie bird is defeated, and because it was in defense mode though, Flatwoods Monster does not gain any evidence. In camp phase, Kieran pays 3 to play a Rosy Mothman, which has Flyer, and at the end of day, you may put a +1/+1 patch on a cryptid of your choice. Now moving to adventure phase, due to the Rosy Mothman having Flyer, it is going to explore diagonally into the Christmas Space Penguin. And because it has Raid 2 and was defeated in a rival camper's site, Kieran will gain 2 evidence. However, an important thing to note is that you do not gain evidence when exploring your own sites. Next, the Angel Messenger explores directly across for 1 evidence. And Kieran doesn't have any cards to set down, so they pass their turn. Flatwoods Monster starts their day by resetting their lanterns, getting another lantern, and drawing a card. In camp phase, they use the Vajra and the Looking Glass, as well as 3 additional vision to play their companion card, which is Flatwoods Monster. Each unique companion card has a bounty clause. The camper that defeats this cryptid gains 1 evidence. They then pay 1 Corallium vision to play Hunter, which is a CZO. Choose an allied cryptid and have it battle another cryptid of your choice. Draw 2 for every cryptid defeated in that battle. We selected the Flatwoods to battle the Rosy Mothman, and in this instance, the trail should not flip. So it's important to note that trails are only flipped when exploring, so not as the result of a battle. The same concept applies for when you gain evidence as well. In adventure phase, Wendigo will explore directly across for 1 evidence, and so will the Hopkinsville Goblin. Actually, initially Flatwoods Monster wanted to have the Goblin gain the evidence, but instead chooses to use its move action to move into the rival camper's site, and the Flatwoods Monster explores directly across, defeating the Angel Messenger for 1 evidence. Flatwoods skips end of day and passes turn. Kieran starts their day by resetting their lanterns, getting another lantern, and drawing a card. During camp phase, Kieran decides to pay 3 vision to flip up a Dingbat. Dingbat also has Flyer. Moving to adventure phase, Kieran has the Dingbat explore diagonally into the Hopkinsville Goblin. The Dingbat has 4 attack, whereas the Hopkinsville Goblin has 3 attack. And they earn 1 evidence for defeating a cryptid with Raid 1, but no additional evidence for exploring their own sites. Moving to end of day, they put down some face down cards and pass their turn. Flatwoods Monster starts their day by resetting their lanterns, getting a new lantern, and drawing. They use the Vajra, the Looking Glass, and an Obsidian Lantern to play 3 Wise Men, which is a CZO. It reads, draw 1, then draw 1 from the bottom of your deck. Then choose a supply in your discard and put it into your hand. If your companion zone is empty, you may put this CZO there instead of discarding it. While the CZO is in your companion zone, you may look at the top card of your deck before drawing at the start of your day. Either put the card back on top of your deck or on the bottom of your deck, then continue your draw. Next, they pay 3 for a Flatwoods Monster, the Blister promo, which has 7 attack and 5 defense. Moving to Adventure Phase, they have the Flatwoods Monster promo move up. The Wendigo explores directly across, encountering an Angel Messenger. Kieran decides not to pay for that, so Flatwoods Monster gains 1 evidence. And then Flatwoods Monster, the companion, explores directly across, encountering a Blade Candy, which Kieran does pay for. So this trap will activate, preventing the evidence from being found, and this trap specifically puts -2/-2 patches on all of the Exploring Campers cryptids. So each of these 3 gain a -2/-2 patch. Then the Blade Candy is discarded. Moving to End of Day, Flatwoods Monster puts down some face-down cards and passes turn. Kieran resets their lanterns, gets another lantern, and draws a card. Then in Camp Phase, they pay 5 to play their companion, Kieran, which has Flyer, and when an allied cryptid explores, you may have its stats become equal to this cryptid's base stats until the exploration ends, which is an extremely powerful effect. Moving to Adventure Phase, Kieran decides to move this hidden entity back a space. They use Dingbat's move action to swap with the hidden entity, and then Kieran will explore into Flatwoods Monster. Now here's where we have our first mishap in this video. When I first recorded this, I initially was under the impression that Kieran would defeat Flatwoods Monster in this scenario because the Flatwoods Monster has a -2/-2 patch on it. Both are using their attack stats because of the card orientation, and 11 -2 would be 9 to Kieran's 13. So initially, based on those thoughts alone, I figured Kieran wins this battle. However, if you read the text on Flatwoods Monster, rival cryptids engaged in battle with this cryptid use their lowest stat for both attack and defense. That would mean that Kieran's attack is only 7 versus the Flatwoods Monster, which is 9. So for the sake of the video, I wanted to point out that this was handled incorrectly, but these are some of the kind of things you can expect to encounter when you play this game, and it's important to pay attention to the details and read all of the cards when you're applying effects and battling. So we mistakenly think that the Kieran defeats the Flatwoods Monster here, earning evidence for the exploration and an additional evidence for the bounty. Kieran then goes to End of Day and passes their turn. Flatwoods Monster starts their day by resetting their lanterns, getting another lantern, and drawing a card. they use the Three Wise Men's effect to put the card at the bottom of their deck and then continue their draw. In camp phase, they use the Vajra and the Looking Glass and 2 additional vision to pay for a Mars Golem, which has 9 attack and 7 defense. They then pay 2 vision to play a Space Penguin from the base set, as well as 1 Meteorite vision to play another Hopkinsville Goblin. Moving to Adventure Phase, Flatwoods Monster has the Hopkinsville Goblin swap places with the Mars Golem. The Flatwoods Monster uses its move action to move to an adjacent site. It's important to note here that you can't actually change the battle mode of the cryptid during Adventure Phase. That would have had to have happened during Camp Phase. Next, the Mars Golem uses its move action to move up. The Wendigo explores directly across, encountering an Ophanim, which is paid for and prevents the evidence from being found. We fix the Flatwoods orientation, and the Space Penguin uses its move action to swap places. In End of Day, Flatwoods Monster puts down a face-down card and passes turn. Kieran starts their day by resetting their lanterns, getting another lantern, and drawing a card. In Camp Phase, they pay 1 quartz to play a Daymoth Scale Cloak. Equipped to a chosen cryptid, equipped cryptid has +1 defense and adds +3 attack, +2 defense to their battle advantages. They equip that to the Kieran and then pay 3 to play Over the Storm, which is a memory. Until your next start of day, your sites with flyer cryptids in them cannot be explored by cryptids without flyer. In Adventure Phase, Kieran explores diagonally across and battles the Mars Golem and defeats it, flipping a trail and earning 1 evidence. Then the Dingbat uses its move action to move up. And then Kieran skips End of Day, passing turn. Flatwoods Monster starts their day by resetting their lanterns, getting another lantern, and drawing a card. In Camp Phase, they use the Vajra and the Looking Glass to pay for Destroy the Ego. They use Destroy the Ego to have the Kieran explore into the site with the Dingbat, where a battle ensues and the Kieran destroys the Dingbat. So this is an advanced technique where you can use Destroy the Ego to have your opponent take out their own cryptids. Next, they pay 2 to flip up a El Verde entity, which has Raid 1. While in a camp that contains a rival cryptid level 2 or lower, this camp's raid has -1. Then, while still in Camp Phase, they switch the Space Penguin's battle mode. Then we move into Adventure Phase and have the Wendigo explore directly across for 1 evidence. We have the Hopkinsville Goblin move up, swapping places with the Wendigo. We have the El Verde entity swap places with the Wendigo. And we have the Flatwoods monster swap places with the Wendigo. Then at end of day, Flatwoods monster puts down a card and passes turn. Next, Kieran starts their turn by resetting their lanterns, getting another lantern, and drawing a card. In camp phase, they pay 4 for a Thunderbird, which has Flyer, and 8 attack and 5 defense. In adventure phase, the Kieran moves over, the Thunderbird moves up, and at the end of day, they put down a card and pass turn. Flatwoods monster resets their lanterns, gets another lantern, and draws a card. They use the Vajra and the Looking Glass to play Destroy the Ego again, and they have the Kieran explore into the site with the Thunderbird, battling it and defeating it. Next, they use the Shadow Lantern's effects text to destroy an allied cryptid, so they destroy the Hopkinsville Goblin, which then generates 2 Obsidian Vision, but in addition to that, it also activates the Wendigo's effects text, doubling its base attack until the start of next day. So I'll use this coin to represent that its attack is doubled. Now, in adventure phase, we'll use the Flatwoods monster's move action to swap places with the Wendigo. We'll then use this Hidden Entity's move action to swap places with the Wendigo, effectively placing the Wendigo exactly where we want it, where it can then explore directly into the Kieran. It's also important to note, because Wendigo is an obsidian cryptid on top of a caves trail, it will also get its attack and defense boosted. So this Wendigo, with all modifiers applied, has an attack of 18. Next, they use the El Verde's move action to move up a space. The Space Penguin explores across for 1 evidence. And the Wendigo explores into the Kieran. And yes, with all modifiers applied, Wendigo is swinging for 18 versus 13. So Kieran is defeated, and in addition to the exploration evidence, Flatwoods monster also gains an evidence for the bounty. Flatwoods monster skips end of day, and they pass turn. Kieran starts their day by resetting their lanterns, getting another lantern, and drawing a card. Unfortunately, there's not much they can do with the current hand they have, so they have to skip camp phase and adventure phase and go to end of day and just put down some face down cryptids and pass their turn. Flatwoods starts their day by resetting their lanterns, drawing a lantern, and drawing a card. In camp phase, they use the Vajra and the Looking Glass to pay for another Destroy the Ego. This time they have the Wendigo explore directly across, earning an evidence. And when they move into adventure phase and explore directly across, they earn 1 more evidence. And with that, Flatwoods monster has 3 trails flipped and 10 evidence, therefore they win the game. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful. We have a growing and very welcoming community over on our Discord, so if you have any gameplay questions or want to find people to play with, be sure to join using the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the final installment of this series where we cover expert level gameplay.